Winter is going to suck. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still the same positive, uplifting person that I've always been. And I still believe wholeheartedly that I will be okay. And, nothing has changed. But in certain situations, it's better to be realistic than optimistic because that allows you to prepare. Now, when it comes to cancer itself, I see no upside in being realistic because that only decreases my chances of survival. Whereas facing winter that's going to be tough, yeah, in this case, being realistic allows me to prepare for it because, let's be honest, given everything that's happened, there is no possible way this winter can be anything but the worst winter since I've been diagnosed. And let me explain why. First of all, let's talk about last winter. Last winter, for the start of it, I was still living with my sister. And then in December, got married, came back, worked for a bit, then decided to go on disability leave, found an apartment, moved in here, and pretty much as soon as that happened, the migraines and throwing up started, and then they discovered the brain tumors, and we had to do radiotherapy for that and everything. So it's like, even though it wasn't necessarily pleasant, at least not the end of the winter, there was a lot of things happening to distract me. And, don't get me wrong, I prefer being bored out of my mind and nothing bad happening than having a crap ton of bad stuff happen one after the other. But there is the advantage of when bad stuff happens, at least it distracts you. Whereas lately, there hasn't been that much to distract me. Not to say the last few months have been easy. As you know, the last 7 months or so have been very, very intense. And it's just gotten to the point where overall things are very slowly, very gradually getting better. But they're never back to normal. There has never been a moment in the last 7 months where I've had a break. Every time something gets better, something else gets worse. When that thing gets better, something else gets worse. And it just keeps going like this on and on and on and on and on. The most I've had, I would say, in the last 7 months when it comes to, breaks and not feeling, not necessarily horrible. It's not like I feel horrible 24/7, but there's always something there, whether it's coughing or breathing issues or having a cold or my leg hurts or, whatever that is, there's always something there. The most that I've had in the last 7 months was a couple hours a day if I'm lucky, every once in a while. And when I mean every once in a while, I mean maybe like once, twice if I'm lucky in the month. So I don't want to paint the wrong picture, like I said. It's not like things are horrible all the time. There are more difficult periods than others. Sometimes it gets better, but it never gets to the point where I'm like, all right, everything is good. I feel good. And it's just because of that, now that winter is ramping up and getting ready to begin, I'm realizing that I'm not where I was hoping I would be. I started a few months ago, I started walking regularly, then I started working out, but, because of the fact that I got two colds in the last couple months, and then my leg pain, so it's like, in the last 7 weeks, the first 2 weeks, I had a cold. Then there were 2 weeks where, I was good enough to work out. Then I got another cold for 2 weeks, so I couldn't work out, couldn't walk again. And then a week where the leg pain was so intense, it's like there's no way I can do anything but just try to relax as much as I can. So 5 out of the last 7 weeks, I haven't been able to walk or work out regularly. And I mean, work out not at all out of those 5 out of 7 weeks, and walk like I mean, I don't go for a walk in the park. I can't like use um, my walking pad because it's starting to get cold outside, so I tend to go less outside. It's just like when I need to go to the hospital, yeah, okay, I'm able to walk to the hospital and walk back. When I need to go buy groceries, I'm able to do that, but it's like short distances and not very often. So when you take into consideration everything, it's very difficult for me to feel like okay, I'm going into this next phase, of life, next season, if you will, winter. Um, I don't feel strong. In fact, I feel pretty much the weakest I've felt since I was diagnosed. Walking regularly was really helping. Starting to work out was helping. My appetite was coming back. But it's like because of what happened in the last 7 weeks, it's like, okay, I'm coughing more. I pretty much always have slight breathing issues at night. Um, I feel like I lost all the progress that I made. I'm not able to eat as much. I'm not able to work out. I'm hoping next week I'll be good and I'll be able to restart everything. But, you never know what's going to happen. So at this point, like, I'm pretty sure I lost a little weight in the last couple weeks. It's like, just my cardio and everything, I'm sure went down because I haven't been able to walk regularly. Haven't been able to exercise, so I haven't been able to build muscle. And it just feels like, all right, I'm about to enter a very difficult period. And instead of being strong coming into it, I'm like the weakest that I've ever been. And that is not a good sign. Not to say that, I believe anything bad's gonna happen. It just makes me realistically expect the winter to really suck. And it's not just, what I'm going through physically. It's also the fact that, I'm not with my family. I'm not with my wife. And, if you live in Canada or any northern country where winter has a very, very big impact on people, you're aware of this phenomena called, what's it called in English? Seasonal depression. Basically, what it means is in winter, there's less sun, so basically, you wake up, it's dark, usually you go to work, come back, sun's already gone down, it's dark, you can't really go outside. I mean, you can go outside, obviously, but it's like you don't feel like it because it's cold. You don't really enjoy it, so you spend most of your time indoors. You don't necessarily tend to want to do activities with friends and stuff like that because of the weather and stuff like that. Even if you can do it inside, it's just like, oh, I have to get dressed, I have to go outside. If you have a car, it's like, oh, I gotta, like, remove the snow from the car and everything and wait for it to heat up, and it's gonna be cold, then it's gonna suck, and then I need to try to find parking with the snow everywhere. And if you don't have a car, it's like, oh, I need to walk in the snow all the way to the subway station or the bus stop or whatever. It's just like it makes life more complicated. So in general, in Canada and northern countries, we tend to kind of like isolate more during winter. That's just kind of by default how it works. And, I could be like, hey, let me just ask, hey, can I spend like, a couple months with my dad or my sister or whatever? It's like, yeah, it might help a bit, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really make that much of a difference because I'm still going to go through what I'm going through. And no matter how much my family loves me, they simply cannot understand and relate to what I'm going through because they've never experienced that. And same thing for my friends, same thing for my wife. It's like they're all there, they all love me, they all support me, they all do the best they can, but at the end of the day, it's like to go back to the desert analogy, it's like I'm in the desert alone. I have to do this alone. Like, even if there are people alongside me, they can't really understand the experience. It's like, the best way to explain it would be like, okay, crash land in the desert and I need to survive. And it's like, oh, okay, there's, my friends and family there, but it's like, they're on camels and they're like protected from the sun and they have water and they have food and everything. And I'm just like, I'm just, okay, I'm not alone, but I'm still struggling with the same things of like hunger and thirst and exhaustion and pain and, you know, all those things. So it's like, okay, it might help a bit to surround myself with family, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And given the last 7 months, you know, it's probably going to continue on this path for a while of like, you know, when one thing gets better, it gets replaced by something else. So I know in the grand scheme of things, everything's going to be okay. You know, I still remain motivated and optimistic about the future. But I know that this upcoming period, the next 3 to 4 months, are probably going to be very intense and very isolating. So, you know, it's just good sometimes to prepare yourself for things like that. So, yeah, at least, you know, I'm ready for it. I've accepted it. I know what to expect, and I'm going to make the most of it, of course. But, you know, it's probably going to be a very difficult period. So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't suck too much. Anyway, that was my update for the day. Talk to you at some point in the future.